Today we're making a pork chili verde in the Instapot. I'm always trying to find recipes that are gluten-free and also keto-friendly, and this one falls into that category. So we use a nice pork butt and we use some tomatillos to make the salsa verde, but let me show you what it looks like. The pork comes out so tender and the salsa is just delicious. So come along with me and let's make some pork chili verde in the Instapot together. Let's take a look at the ingredients needed to make this recipe. First, you're going to need about 2 tablespoons of oil. I like to use avocado oil. You'll need about 1 pound of tomatillos. If you aren't familiar with what a tomatillo is, it's like a little green tomato with a skin on it. 5 to 6 cloves of garlic minced, 1 medium to large onion diced, 2 to 3 Serrano chili peppers minced. And if your family doesn't like heat, you can leave these out. They're completely optional. 3 pounds of pork shoulder or 3 pounds of pork stew meat already cubed, about 1/2 to 1 cup of beef broth, the juice of 1 fresh lime, 1 teaspoon of ground cumin, 1 teaspoon of oregano, some salt and pepper, about 3 tablespoons of cilantro chopped. Let's begin preparing our pork meat. I like to make 1-inch slices. They sort of look like a pork steak. And then I go back and I cube up them into 1-inch pieces. So I usually cut all the steaks as 1 inches, then go back and just cube up the rest of my meat. As you can see, a pork shoulder has a lot of fat on it. If you don't like to have the extra pieces of fat in there, you can trim it off, but that is going to add a lot of flavoring to the chili verde stew. If you've never worked with tomatillos before, I'm going to show you how you prepare them. First, you peel off the skin, and the skin that's on the tomatillos is very loose. It's almost like a leaf covering. And you can see the tomatillos look all shiny. They're actually quite sticky and waxy feeling. So we're going to go ahead and peel all of the leaves off. Then we're going to give the tomatillos a really good wash and rub. Once they're done being rinsed off, we're going to go ahead and dry them with a paper towel before we start to chop them up. Once dried, I'm going to go ahead and remove the base of the stem from the tomatillos, just like you would a normal tomato. So I go through all of my tomatillos and do that first. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to dice it up into sort of decent sized diced. It doesn't have to be too small. It's going to cook down and we're going to end up pureeing it later. So I'm going to go through all of my tomatillos and dice them up. All the seeds are fine. You can see one thing different with the tomatillos versus a tomato is there's not a lot of juice in them. They're a little drier. So go ahead and continue chopping all of the tomatillos. Now I'm going to take my large onion, cut off the ends, peel the outer skin off, chop it in half, and now I'm going to make thin slices to be able to dice this up. These do not need to be too large. They also don't have to be too small. And they don't have to be perfect. They're just going to become part of the salsa when we cook it. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the second part of my onion and move on to my garlic. I'm using fresh garlic, but you can use jarred garlic if you like. I'm going to go ahead and peel off 6 cloves. And what I do is just chop off the ends, make a little slice on the skin, and peel it off to expose the cloves. Once they're all peeled, I take out my garlic press. I bought this one on Amazon and I really love it. And I just go ahead and put in 2 to 3 of the cloves in at a time, scrape it off with a knife into a little glass bowl. And if you don't have a garlic press or you just don't like to peel garlic or mince it, you can always use pre-minced garlic in a jar. Now the serrano peppers are optional if you don't like heat. If you like heat, put in 1. If you like a lot of heat, put up to 3. So what I'm doing is cutting off the top stems, cutting out all the seeds and the middle section of the pepper. Once I'm done, I'm going to rinse them and dry them thoroughly. and then it's time to mince them up. If you're sensitive to heat, go ahead and wear some gloves when you do this step. I just wash my hands real thoroughly afterward and it's no problem for me. So now we're going to get our Instant Pot ready. We're going to go ahead and plug it in. Now push the saute button to let it warm up. While it's warming up, I'm going to salt and pepper my stew chunks, my pork chunks. I'm also going to put on some of the oregano and cumin. Toss it and add some more seasoning so everything is thoroughly coated. Once the Instant Pot display shows hot, it's time to start cooking. We're going to put in our avocado or olive oil if you prefer. And just so you know, the top of the pan while you're sauteing does not get hot. So I'm actually going to pick it up with my hands and swirl my oil around to make sure it covers the whole bottom of the pan. The pan is not flat at the bottom, so I do that just to get the oil on every part of the surface. Now I'm going to start making a single layer of my pork chunks and put them at the bottom of my Instant Pot to start browning them. I'm going to flip them after a few minutes, probably 4 minutes. Stir it around. I want to try to evenly brown the meat on all sides. Once the meat has been browning for about 6 to 7 minutes, I'm going to go ahead and scoop it out of the Instant Pot and put in my second batch. You don't want to overfill your Instant Pot because the pork pieces won't brown very well. So here's my second batch. You can see there's a piece of bone in there too. That was from when I cut up the meat. It was not boneless. And I'm going to go ahead and keep that in my recipe because it'll just add a lot of flavor. Now that I'm done with the second batch, I'm scooping it all out. And you'll see there's a little bit of oil and pork broth at the bottom that came out from the cooking process. We're going to go ahead and leave that there and start cooking our vegetables. Drop in our onion, our tomatillos, give it a stir. And you can see my bottom is not coated. It doesn't have anything burnt on the bottom, so there's no need to deglaze the pan at this time. Added in my Serrano peppers, give it a good stir. Now we don't need to cook this very long because it's going to cook under pressure, so we're just adding in all the ingredients and mixing it together. I put in my minced garlic. Once everything's evenly mixed, it's time to go ahead and put in our pork pieces. Now we don't need the trivet for this recipe. And now I'm giving it a good stir. I want the vegetables and the meat to be evenly distributed. And as you can see, it's quite a full pot, but it doesn't matter. I'm not exceeding the fill line. Now I'm chopping in some fresh cilantro. Again, if you don't like cilantro, then you don't have to put it in. It's going to add a lot of flavor to the salsa. So after I stir everything together, we're going to put in our final ingredients and start cooking. Because my pot is so full, I'm going to go ahead and add in a full cup of beef broth. If you used less meat in this recipe, you can probably get away with just a half a cup. Now I'm going to sprinkle in a little more cumin, a little more oregano on the top. Now it's time to put on the lid. I already ensure that the ring is sitting in the lid properly, the sealing ring. Close the lid, ensure the valve is set to sealing, not venting. Now I'm going to hit cancel on my display, hit pressure cook or manual for 30 minutes. So we're cooking it for 30 minutes on high pressure. Once the 30-minute cooking time has elapsed, you'll see L000 on your display. That means the cooking time is done. And we're going to do a quick release. So now I take my valve and change it to venting to allow the pressure to come out, and depressurize the pot to allow us to open it. Once the pin drops, it's safe to open. You unlock your lid and take it off. And look at that. It looks amazing. Look at the tender pork, tender vegetables. It's going to be amazing when we finish this off. In order to finish the sauce, I had to use a spoon and take out the meat, trying to leave the vegetables in the pan. Once I have just the vegetables left in the pan, I'm using my immersion blender to grind it up
to finalize and make it a green salsa. It just looks and smells amazing at this point. Once it's to the consistency that I like it, I'm going to go ahead and give my salsa a taste and see if I need to adjust any of the seasonings at this point. It might need a little bit more salt or not. This is the time you're going to add in your squeezed lime juice. I only used half of the lime, but you could also put in the full lime. Tastes really good. I think it's perfect. So I plated up my pork and poured the salsa on top, and I serve it with a side of lime. And there you have it, pork chili verde in the Instant Pot. If you enjoyed this recipe, please give my video a thumbs up and comment down below. If you would like to see more of my weekly videos, please hit the subscribe button and turn on your notification bell to be informed when my next weekly video is available. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye-bye.